Hello.
Hey everyone. So I guess I should do a little bit of an intro. So first of all, hi, my name is Teresa. I'm one of OwlCrate's curators, and you might have seen me do our Owl Babbles, which are our monthly chats with our OwlCrate authors. Thank you for joining us for today's Coffee with Curators. So today we'll be doing a couple things. We'll be answering some fan questions, and we will be talking about everything medieval and adventure related in preparation for our April book. Our Owl Babble is actually tomorrow, so May 19th at 2 p.m. PST with Alexandra Bracken for our book Silver in the Bone, which I should have with me, but I don't apparently. So just pretend I'm
Mine's
holding it. Yeah, it's somewhere over there. I was using it for something. So yeah.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Yeatasmin. I'm one of the other curators on the YA team. I'm excited to join for this live. This will be an interesting one because I'm not very involved with medieval or adventure type content. So I'll learn a little bit today with everyone. Just some information. Again, we have live streams all the time on the Nest, and so if you want to see some of the past live streams or even this live stream later on, you can go to the tab and look at the past live streams tab. We'll have we usually have a bunch of live author chats and reading challenges and fun subgroups. If you're on the Nest, you already know, but highly encourage you to continue exploring the Nest as there's always something new going on. And yeah, just keep track of our social media, our TikTok, our Instagram. And today we're also going to be giving away 3 April boxes. So stay tuned to see if you may be a lucky winner. Yeah.
And April's box is so aesthetically pleasing if you love medieval stuff. So if
It's
you're,
perfect for
yeah, you
medieval.
like that kind of stuff, definitely keep an eye out. Cool.
So medieval and adventure, that's a fun one. I will admit I am not very versed in the world of medieval and adventure, but I'm very open to it. Are there any books that come to your mind that are your top medieval adventure type books?
I think with especially in the recent years, Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, it's medieval-esque, I'd say. The popularity of that show was unexpected, needless to say.
Insane.
Yeah, and I think that really brought a lot of people, fans, into this. It's not really neo-medieval, but I like to call it neo-medieval because it almost feels like a medieval revival after that, because a lot of books came out that are set in the medieval era, and they're getting really popular. So yeah, Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon are the first ones that come to mind, but also Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, which is also a classic, also very medieval-esque. How about
Yeah,
you?
definitely. I mostly know Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon from the shows. I was very into Game of Thrones when it was coming out, and then I watched House of the Dragon recently, and I think it's really good. The dragons and the aesthetic and everything is just really intriguing, and I think it's though that's one of the popular books and media of medieval and adventure that I think a lot of people know by now because it's so mainstream now because of how popular it's become, and for good reason too.
Are you excited for the next season of House of the Dragon, which is
I am.
out next?
It ended in such a way where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need the next season now because I wanna as someone who hasn't read the books, I haven't read the books. I know there are books, but I haven't read them purposely because I do want the surprise of watching the show. And so I've seen little hints here and there of what might happen in the future, and it just looks very like dark. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm looking forward to that.
As someone who's a fan of the books, I know what's happening next season, and my gosh, next season is going to be absolutely bonkers. And I'm quite a fan, so I've been stalking Twitter and Reddit for filming news because they're currently filming right now. And I know that they just shot a couple of scenes that are going to be insanely intense. So we are definitely in for a treat
Yes.
next season. I don't know if it's like a treat, but like if you like intense things, it's definitely a treat.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like this season was definitely like a setup for the next season because that's where all the messy stuff is gonna happen. This was just
Mm-hmm.
us kind of getting the backstory, which I really liked because I think it just like is gonna add a lot more to the next season, definitely.
For sure. I think they also, what they did with the show that I really appreciate is they added so much nuance to a lot of the characters. Because for those who are watching who don't know, Fire and Blood is written by George R. R. Martin, first of all, as like a prequel to Game of Thrones. And it's written in a way that's very like textbook esque. Like if you read it, it sounds like a history textbook. It's not told from any particular POV other than like the Meisters who are writing the book. So it's supposed to be objective, but you can clearly tell it's not objective. And
Mhm.
some people found it dry because of that reason. Because it does read like a textbook. And like to be fair, if you don't like that kind of stuff, you don't. But I think the show did a lot of like maneuvering and they really changed up a lot in a good way to make the characters feel more sympathetic to us. So we're not particularly like team green or team black. And I
Mhm.
really like that because I feel like, especially with the female characters too, adding that kind of nuance just really brings them to life instead of just reading them through like some boring historical record. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I It's so interesting to see like the whole team black and team green because it's like both sides have been kind of affected in different ways to like
Mm-hmm.
lead up to where they are right now. Cause like with Team Green and where they are, like with Allison, like it was clear, at least from the show. I don't know if it's as accurate in the books. I'm assuming it is because this is a big plot point. But like Allison being Rhaenyra's stepmom is like such a big thing, but also like it was partially like her father like grooming her. And so
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like that's a very like it creates a lot of nuance for both like female leads because of that because it's like both of them had to deal with like the men of their world basically just like trying to tear them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the books, it's actually, I think it's really hard to feel sympathetic to Allison in the books because, minor spoiler alert, she's supposed to be much older in the books and she's kind of power hungry and she's
Mm.
quite frankly like horrible to Rhaenyra. Like she calls Rhaenyra a bunch of like nasty names,
Oh, that
like fat
sucks.
shames her, stuff like that. And she's also like very like Puritan esque in the books too. So she like kind of slut shames Rhaenyra for being a
Mhm.
Targaryen and their practices. Sort of like what, like in a very extreme way, much more than what happens in the show. And so
Mhm.
if you read the book, it's very clear that George R. R. Martin's like Team Black because he
Mm,
pushes that
yeah.
agenda. And then so like by de-aging Allison and making her a victim of that really horrible patriarchal society and pitting her against Rhaenyra just based on the cards that they both have in hand, it just feels so tragic. And you can tell that they very clearly love each other, like in the when they're younger. um Even when they're older, you can still feel like they still like, it's a love that's tinged by bitterness, but I really appreciate that like friends to enemies type of dynamic that's
Mhm.
happening, especially right
Definitely.
now at the end of season 1. So yeah, House of the
Also,
Dragon is great.
yes,
Yeah, so
I'm
if you
like
don't
really
watch, you
excited
should.
for
Yeah.
the second season. Also, for anyone who's watching, like, feel free to leave recommendations for the newbie over here. I'd love to see what medieval adventure type stories people are really into now. And also leave any questions that you want answered to, because we are going to get to questions
Hmm.
uh, soon as well on this live, whether it be about medieval stuff or about anything outright. Oh, Christy44 says, I feel like King Arthur retellings are great. Yes, they are. That's probably like the most well known and like the one that I'm like most familiar with, even though I'm like still barely familiar with it. But I think that's the one that also like everyone is very, very aware of. Like everyone knows the King Arthur myth in some capacity.
There's also like so much of like modern contemporary literature that's circled around, King Arthurian mythology. And like Silver and the Bone is definitely one of them. It involves like a substantial amount of King Arthur stuff. But
Yeah.
I really find it enjoyable how a lot of these books tend to put like a more sympathetic twist on characters in the King Arthur universe, to say the least, too. Because medieval literature, like if you read classic medieval literature, it does feel outdated at times, obviously, because it is medieval. And by making characters more sympathetic, I think we're able to relate to them a little bit more. And it's very fascinating to see which characters people tend to gravitate to. Because like the one that I'm thinking about is Mordred from King Arthur and Myth, who's the one who basically kind of leads to the downfall-ish of King Arthur and Guinevere and all that. He's he's been turned into a very sympathetic character by almost all of the modern adaptations I've seen, which I love because he's not a very explored character within like the classics. So yeah, I love that kind of stuff, and I hope people do keep on doing more of it because it's very much appreciated in this day and age.
Definitely. I've seen some retellings in books, and I think even within like movies and TV shows, I think like the one that comes to mind is not necessarily focus on King Arthur, but Merlin,
Yeah,
the show
love Merlin.
Merlin. I haven't watched much of that, but it's very interesting. And there are times where my TikTok feed kind of gets bombarded by Merlin TikToks because there's so many like shippers of the show.
Yeah. Merlin is like my roommate, well ex-roommate and best friend had a Merlin phase, so I watched bits of it with her. Prior to that I used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. I love Merlin, and then the writers kind of screwed up the last couple of seasons, so I ended up getting really angry. But Merlin really, I think yeah, there are a lot of passionate shippers from that show, and it is a good show. Like it's very funny at times, and there are a lot of campy tropes in it that I think are definitely enjoyable. It's just like that show will also give you whiplash because one second it'll be really funny and the other second it'll be so angsty. It is a very fun show though, and all of the cast is fantastic for that.
Yeah,
We
I
got
see
more
the
seasons.
cast like in other works too, and they're like really talented.
Yeah.
Amy Pond 0412 asks if there's going to be any emoji hints today. Why don't
Ooh.
we do the one that we did in our last live for June? I mean, the theme is out, but we can still stick with that by going with the spool of thread,
Yarn emoji.
yarn thread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no thread, unfortunately. I checked. It comes
Oh,
up as
it's
yarn.
yarn?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting. But yeah, we'll go with that as the emoji hint. But you can go on our Instagram and see what our current, like our June theme is, because that was recently released. And people have their theories as always, and it's really interesting to see what people come up with in terms of, and if they get it right, because that's always fun to see.
I think there's also a reel up on TikTok that's pretty cool. So might want to check that one out too.
Kristen Pamela asked a question that is probably going to be good for you. As someone who isn't well versed in the medieval genre, would you recommend reading the Game of Thrones first book or watching the first season first?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'd say it really depends because the books really do add in a lot of detail. Like the show did cut out a lot. So if you're the type of person who really enjoys world building, it is quite hard to get into the books at first just because George R. R. Martin throws all this information at you. So if you're the type of person who enjoys immersing yourself like in a universe and you don't find it as hard getting into a series, then I definitely would recommend the books just because you're missing a lot if you just watch the TV show. There's a lot of subplots that they cut out. And the first book is really enjoyable, but like the second and the third book for Game of Thrones are particularly strong. And you start seeing like the tapestry come together, like all the threads and plots, which is super cool. And you can see like all the effects. But if you don't enjoy that kind of world building, which is honestly like most people don't, because it takes a little bit of effort to keep track of all these things, then I definitely recommend the TV show. The TV show does a good job of, I think, streamlining it. And even though they didn't have, the first season, the production value was kind of low because they were testing out waters, and they were like, oh, it's a medieval show, nobody's going to be interested in it, and everybody ended up interested in it. I still think they did a good job. Definitely better than what they did at the for the ending of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the last season, the tumultuous last season. But I will say, like, from the first, even like the first 1, 2, 3 seasons and then onward, there you can kind of tell there was like a shift in storytelling and like the way they were portraying the story. And I think like there was just a lot more being invested as the seasons went on, which was like really cool to see, because like the storytelling and cinematography was like really, really stunning to watch as you kept going on.
Yeah. Like, particularly seasons 2 and 3, I definitely agree. Like, they really put so much effort into making it into such a cohesive show that it's really easy to get lost into. Also, like, the cast for Game of Thrones is phenomenal. I wouldn't choose any other cast, honestly. And they really carried the show. I think, there's like a couple of actors and actresses that really, really stood out because of the show too. And I would watch it for not even for the plot, but for the acting alone.
Who's your favorite characters?
Oh gosh, I am really, really sympathetic towards Jaime Lannister, which is, I know people hate him because of what happens in the very.
Yeah, the people have mixed opinions about him.
Yeah. But his redemption arc is so satisfying to me. And Brienne of Tarth, it's not even a matter of me shipping them, because I do ship them and I think they make such a wonderful couple. But I really appreciate how Brienne of Tarth brings out the best in Jaime Lannister, and how he, because of her, he starts feeling that guilt and tries to change. It's not a matter of like her going, I can fix him. It's more of like him seeing her and going, oh my gosh, this woman.
I want to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's so satisfying to watch.
Season 8 really screwed me over because of that.
I was so upset. I was like, you were so close. Oh my gosh.
I appreciate it, because on one hand, I feel like Jaime Lannister really, like, Jaime and Cersei, it's also like not a ship thing, obviously, but I do get where they're coming from, that like tragic like togetherness, even though they are twins. And I do think on one hand it does make sense that they kind of died together, but sorry, minor spoiler alert again. But not minor spoiler alert.
That's pretty major, Teresa.
Sorry. I forget that people haven't watched the show, because it's so part of like pop culture now. But yeah, I feel like the ending for those two characters, it does make sense in some really twisted sort of way. I just wish they didn't do it that way. Yeah.
I would say I really love Brienne of Tarth too, and I also really, really liked Sansa. I've seen things about her too, but I love her growth. It's so like you can see the growth from season 1 to even season 8. Like, despite season 8 being like a very weird season, I think like I was most satisfied by her ending.
Yeah.
I was like she grew in the best way, even though she had so much to deal with.
I love that.
Tyrion 5 ever.
What did Jordan say?
Tyrion 5 ever.
Oh yeah, Tyrion
was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
He was so smart and like I think got on like everyone's nerves, but like in the best way.
I think Tyrion Peter Dinklage did such a fantastic job, and his banter with some of the other characters, particularly, oh shoot, what's his name? Varys. Like his banter with Varys and, oh gosh, Bronn, the guy who's always wanting a castle. Like the banter between them is so funny. And I love the way they were written in the show because of that, because it brings a very needed amount of levity into the show, which can get very serious at times. Yeah.
And Peter Dinklage is gonna be in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah.
Plugging that in again.
So excited.
That's really fun.
He's gonna like slay that role. He's so good.
Piper says, I watched the first season and loved the show so much that I read the books, all 5 books. The books are amazing. I love how the show sets up the characters. It's visually great. That's awesome. I am very interested in reading the books because I feel like there's a lot more context within the books.
For sure. You definitely need to like sit down and carve out some time for you, like yourself, to get through
Yeah,
them.
they look like some thick boys.
Yeah, you could probably kill a man if you drop the whole series on them. It's like the last book. Apparently, George R. Martin is almost done with it. From the rumors I heard, he's just revising right now. So maybe it might be a good idea for him to release it before you read it,
Oh
because
yeah,
then you don't have to wait.
the wait for the last book before I invest my time in it.
Yeah, it's been, I think, more than 10 years, way more than 10 years for most of us who have been waiting, which is a long time to wait. I'm going to do a reread before it comes out too. So
Starlight Reader says, I love the Ranger's Apprentice series growing up. It had a great cast and wonderful medieval setting and adventure. I'm not familiar with that, but I will take note of that because I am interested.
I remember that series. It was really good. I don't think I finished it, but I did read the first couple of books, and it's very strong writing. Also, I think, yeah, that would have been like in an elementary school, but those books really were like written well, and they didn't try and dumb down a lot of things like they do for some of the younger side of, like, I think it's middle grade actually, if I'm not misremembering things. But yeah, it's a really good series. Let's see. Kristen Pamela says, I read and loved Terry Goodkind's Sword of Truth books and always felt medieval vibes from that series as well. Maybe it's the dragons. Oh yeah, I have heard of Terry Goodkind. I have some of his books. I've just never really started him because I've been so immersed in Game of Thrones. But I will definitely check that out because he seems to be very well recommended by a lot of people.
Is that also middle grade or is that like adult? Why?
Adult, definitely adult. Yeah, he's like he's very popular amongst a lot of like high fantasy readers who enjoy like long series, and I think he has like a lot of books out, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Ooh, Kalumni says, okay, a book recommendation based on Brienne or any of the characters. And then Jordan says, Alana. Yes. So Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamora Pierce is medieval. It is sort of like Mulan-esque in that, so it's like Mulan cross Joan of Arc, as in like a girl dresses as a man takes her twin's place and learns to become a knight. Like she goes through like the whole like page, squire, knight training, and it is fantastic. Tamora Pierce is probably like one of my top 10 authors, maybe top 5 even. She's fantastic. It's a fairly short series because it was directed towards like I think like it is YA for sure, but it teaches a lot, and it doesn't shy away from important topics like consent and like puberty, stuff like that. It's a really good series. I highly recommend it. The character's not particularly like Brienne. If you want somebody like Brienne, I think like Tamora Pierce's Protector of the Small series is more your thing because Kel from that series really reminds you of Brienne. But both of the series deal with knighthood and like women in knighthood. So definitely check those out. I can't think of any others off the top of my head just because I love that series or like Tamora Pierce's Turtle universe that much. But yeah, Jordan, good recommendation.
Kirsty44 says, I'm hoping for some great medieval festivals this year. Those are always, I haven't seen too many medieval, I don't think, but well, I don't know if people like have blended them or something, but I've seen a lot of like Renaissance fairs.
Yeah.
And like they're so fun to watch. Or like not watch, but like I see people like, showing off their outfits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people just wearing these really cool Renaissance outfits. I think I saw one like TikTok where someone was showing people's outfits and someone was dressed as this like really elegant like mushroom and it was so pretty.
I
People
think I
go
know the
all out
one.
for these fairs.
Mm-hmm. Have you been to Ren Fair?
I haven't, but I do want to one at like one point.
You have like so many good ones in like your neck of the woods. Because I
Yeah.
know like East Coast is great for that. We don't have any like in BC where I am in Canada. I'm planning on going to the Seattle one this year, hopefully. I'm gonna pop over the border for it. But yeah, Ren Fair seems so fun, and I feel like just it's like a great way for people to like let loose and like dress up and be
Yeah.
nifty about it.
It just looks like you're stepping into like a whole different world and like a really cool escape, but
Mm-hmm.
like also just really fun to like see how creative people get with like their outfits and everything. It just looks so fun.
I really want to try jousting. I like watch people joust like at Ren Fairs, and it looks so dope. I really, really want to try it, but logically, I know that the chances of getting hurt are so very.
Yeah, I would probably like fall split like 2 seconds, just like already done.
But you'll enjoy those 2 seconds beforehand.
Yes. Christy
Yeah.
also says Narnia is a great medieval book, and so too.
Classic.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Narnia was, I think, formative for a lot of people too, like the whole like
Mhm.
four siblings. And I love Narnia because it's very it still feels like it holds up. Like I reread like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe last year, and it's still very magical feeling to me. It might be the nostalgia talking though.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it's nostalgic or not, because like as long as it hits, that's what matters.
For sure.
Yeah. Jordan says I have jousted.
Ooh.
You need
Well,
to you
Jordan
need to do that.
Jordan can ride horses anytime she wants, so you know,
It was fun.
Ellis.
Yes, you gotta maybe give us some lessons so that if we go to a Ren fair, we don't topple over.
Love for Horses one says the Graceling books are really good and kind of seem to be set in a medieval time period. Yeah, the Graceling books are also really, really strong. Kristen Kishore, I think, is the author. And yeah, her writing is fantastic. I think the romance too, and like Graceling particularly, is very, very like I love that romance. I read that book like back in like grade 7, I think, and I still remember it pretty well. It's a really, really fun series too.
Zoe says my favorite thing at a tent fair I went to was meeting a raven named Poe, and he would take people's money with handler's permission.
That's so
That's
cute.
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, part of the fun of Ren Fairs is it brings out so many interesting people and animals, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah. I really want to I have 2 Shivas, like 2 dogs. I really want to dress them up and take them to a Ren Fair one day. But
Oh,
that
that would be
requires,
really cute.
yeah, taking them over the border, which I don't know. It might be a little bit complicated, but one day I'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think like my closest like physical like involvement that I've ever gotten with this kind of stuff was, I feel like some people might know what I'm talking about, but I think it's called Medieval Times in like 5th grade. This was like a 5th grade senior trip for us where we went to Medieval Times, and like I remember just sitting and like eating my food and just watching them joust and everything. And I remember buying this bracelet that like broke 2 days later, which was depressing, but that was like really fun. And that's probably like people would like probably know what I'm talking about, that because it's a really popular like event type of thing that people go to. But that like was a very interesting experience because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm watching people like joust and fight. And like 5th grade me was like, oh, this is really cool.
I really want to go to medieval times. I feel like it feels so campy, but also like
Yeah,
in a very
campy
fun
is the right
way.
word.
Yeah.
Campy is
Mm-hmm.
definitely the right word. And like some people get like roses from the knights and stuff, and it's like really fun to watch.
There was like a TikTok the other day that I saw of like that went viral of this like I think jouster who was like very hot to say the least, and people were losing it over him. And
I feel
then
like I saw this. I
yeah,
feel like I saw this.
I saw that TikTok and I was like, damn, okay, I kind of want to go just for the vibes. And I just think it's such a fun way for people to eat a meal. Like it's entertainment
Yeah.
and a meal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like very family friendly too, because like kids go all the time and they also have a lot of fun, and like they sometimes the knights give roses to the kids, which is like really cute to see and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely like something really doable and like fun to do.
I wish we had that in Canada.
Ugh,
Fortunately, we don't.
that sucks.
Jordan says you
Gotta
can do
hop
it
on the
with
border.
pool noodles. I do it
Ooh,
with kids. I feel like pool noodles. You know what? That could work.
I feel like it could work. It
Yeah.
might be like 10 times the size of like what you would actually joust with, but like why not? It's good practice.
I feel like if you get one of those, I don't know if you had these in gym class in elementary school, but they were like square books, like boards with wheels on them, like
Mm,
wheelie. If you get those
yeah.
and you like made somebody push you, maybe you could probably joust with that. That
Yeah,
could
oh my gosh, what a
be pretty fun.
throwback. Just, like, ride those, like, sit on those and ride those while you're, like, charging. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. I will try that out over the summer and see how it goes. I have a sister to practice on, so I'll get her to help.
We could go into some pre-asked questions as well while some of the live questions and comments come through, but, some questions we got were, do you prefer a medieval story to be as historically accurate as possible or to have its own unique spin? So I'm leaning more towards the unique spin as long as it's not like crazy different. Because like obviously I don't want to see a medieval story where people have like phones in their hands or something. But like as long as it kind of works with the setting that like the way that they set up uh the retelling, then like I'm kind of fine with seeing how they spin things up. What about
I
you?
think for me, it really depends on whether or not it's kind of pitched as an authentic, accurate medieval retelling, or if it's like a medieval fantasy. Like I forget the name. There's a really good series based on the Wars of the Roses that took place years ago. That was a historical series, and I really appreciate it for its accuracy. But if I'm like watching Game of Thrones and they have a dragon on screen, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christy says, "Now I'm thinking of medieval food and I'm starving. LOL." I can't tell you how I like genuinely. I don't remember what the food was like because it was so long ago. But I do remember like it was pretty chill because it's fun to like watch such an entertaining type of like spectacle while having like a meal in front of you. Like that's just fun in general. But I can't
Mhm.
vouch for how good the food is. It's been so long, so it could go either way.
Let's see. Next question. Favorite medieval myth?
Yeah, so I said like a classic King Arthur or Robin Hood. I think again, as someone who's not like very very well known in this kind of genre, I think those are like always going to be interesting to me, especially cuz you know, there are a lot of retellings of these kind of uh classic stories of like medieval times with King Arthur and Robin Hood. I think like I especially got into it a little bit more with King Arthur when it came to Legendborn, which is more of
Mm,
like a modern, like urban fantasy type of retelling, but I think like that was like a really interesting take on it because I haven't really seen a take like that in terms of like the way that the story progressed, especially going into like the second book, which is like phenomenal. But yeah, I think like I'd have to go with those as someone who is very, very limited in the knowledge of medieval genre.
King Arthur definitely is a classic too because there's so many versions of King Arthur. Like you have the French version, you have the Welsh version, and you have the English version, and then you have like some subsets of all of those. And I think it's just everybody knows those tales so well. Like King Arthur, Guinevere, the Round Table, Lancelot, like all those characters. They've really become like part of pop culture, which is really fun to think of because I don't think the people who were writing about King Arthur back in like the medieval times were thinking that these stories would last this long. So it's really fun to think about those types of things. I have like quite a couple, but I think it's because I took a lot of medieval classes when I was in undergrad and when I was doing like grad school too. So I love there's like a couple of epic poems that I really like that are in medieval English and Old English. They're not really poems, I'd say. They can be categorized. They're called lies. So they're basically like a rhymed set of stories that are set in like obviously in the medieval times, the romances. So there's the lives of Marie de France. In particular, there's one called Bisclaveret, which is about a werewolf. It's really fun. I also love the Mabinogion, which is the Welsh kind of book of mythology. It has like a couple of King Arthur tales, but it also has other tales that are specifically more Welsh and more directed towards like Welsh stuff. So the Mabinogion is definitely one of my favorites too. And I also love like old romances like Sir Gowther, which is about a demon knight who has like he's born as a human who acts like a dog. It's really weird. A lot of these old like medieval romances are creepy and weird and twisted to the point where you're just like people came up with this in the medieval ages.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
they were made in like a dark time too, right?
yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
they're really fun to read though because you can kind of see like threads of what people used to like back in the day kind of carry through now. Like Sir Gowther in particular is about like this, like he's a monstrous man, like he's a demon. He acts like a dog. He does like horrible things when he's younger because he's born that way because of his heritage. He gets like this redemption arc that I think a lot of like monster loving romance readers would like. If that makes sense. I can see like a thread of that kind of redemption arc in a lot of stories that are in the modern times. So yeah, it's really fun to see these themes get repeated over and over again because humans don't change.
Yeah, definitely. Piper says, I don't care about accuracy. I care about good storytelling. That is very, very, very true. As someone who eats up shows like Bridgerton and Rain, like they're probably some of the most inaccurate forms of like, well, I wouldn't call Bridgerton a retelling, but even just like the setting and like the accuracy of the setting. Um, or just like historical fiction type stuff where like there's not a lot of accuracy, but if the story is juicy, I will eat it up. And that's like I definitely care a lot about like good storytelling as well.
Rain's costuming department went like full out,
Bonkers. Oh my
right?
gosh.
I've only watched like a couple episodes from the show, but like I see like GIF sets on Tumblr of all the outfits, and my gosh, like the details on those costumes, they're not historically accurate. Who cares? They're gorgeous.
They are very gorgeous. They're
Yeah.
definitely not historically accurate, but they are very pretty and
Mm-hmm.
like really cool to look at. Um, Zoe says The Chosen by Turan Matharu has technology, dinosaurs, and glimpses of nights. That is a very interesting combination of things.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yes.
I'm gonna add it to what should we call it? Goodreads right now. Yeah, it sounds super cool. Oh, it came out in 2019. I think I heard of it.
Interesting.
I've not read it. We'll check it. It has such a cool cover too.
Chrissy says, I love Rain so much it's on my list of top favorite shows. Yes, it's such a fun show to watch. It's so messy, but it's so fun.
So like medieval reality TV show.
Yeah, it very much does fit reality TV. You're kind of right.
I will definitely check that out.
Jessica says Robin Hood is a good one. Also has a lot of versions throughout Europe. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I'm just salty because they've never made like a good Robin Hood movie. All of the Robin Hood
I haven't seen many.
Yeah, they aren't great. I feel like people try and change them too much when they try and adapt Robin Hood into movies.
Oh, Jordan is disputing you.
Uh-oh.
The Disney one. Well, of course the Disney one.
Well, that one doesn't count. I mean like live actions.
I think the only live action like representation of Robin Hood I can think of is the one from Once Upon a Time, which I don't know if I would even classify that as such, but like that one was, I guess, kind of part of the show for a little while.
There was like a Robin Hood that had Richard Armitage play the bad guy. That one was, I watched it because I really like Richard Armitage. That one was like okay, I think. This would have come out. Let me check. Actually, this would have been, yeah. This would have been like 2006, so like a long time ago. That one was okay. I know there's a couple other Robin Hoods that came out since then. There's like a movie, I think 2-3 years ago. Gosh, time is an illusion. But yeah, that one was not that great. I didn't like it. I hope someone makes a good Robin Hood one day, like a good movie.
Zoe says, I haven't read it yet, but I picked up a book called Sherwood by Megan Spooner. Female Robin Hood, I think. That's the vibe it gives me. That's fun. I
Sure.
love the gender swap of stories like these two. And then Jordan says, Megan is super underrated, writes primarily with Amy Kaufman. Love them both. Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah. I think I
I've
have
never heard of
Sherwood.
this. Sherwood.
I think I have it on my shelf. I will definitely move that to the top of my list too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Also came out in 2019, huh?
Moana Lani 333 asks, does anyone like Cursed? I think they made it into a show. I don't think I've heard of Cursed. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've read the book, but I have not watched the TV series.
Oh, interesting.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I think they canceled it after the first season, if I'm not correct. I think, yeah. Is that the one I'm thinking about? But yeah, the book is great. The book really has a bunch of fun characters. It's really angsty. Kind of made me sad reading it. I have it somewhere on my shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Piper says, yeah, Bridgerton. I also love the movie Marie about Marie Antoinette, starring Kirsten Dunst. I've heard of that. Best scenes, Marie on the stairs with the Cure playing. I love the mix of historical visuals and modern music. Yeah, I really love that that's been happening a lot, is like taking modern music and making it fit a historical setting. I think Rain was like one of the first like popular shows to do that, I guess. At least from my experience. There might have been a lot more before. But that was like my first exposure to like media doing modern music in like historical setting and like making it work. And like Bridgerton also took that on too. And Marie Antoinette, like the Marie movie.
There's a series called The Great, which is set in, I think, the 18th century.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's not
the one
particularly
with Elle Fanning, right?
Yeah. It's not like medieval, but it is set in like rural Russia in the 18th century or the 17th century. I want to say the 18th century. I feel like that's more correct. And it's very fun. Like it's like a drama kind of, like it's a comedy drama type show, so it's not like particularly sad, but it's hilarious. It's so fun. Let's see, what else do we have?
Another question that we got before was, what would you be in a medieval adventure? An elf, dragon, princess, etc. So I said I'd probably be a dragon or a siren, which is like, I feel like, well, a dragon is like classic, like who wouldn't want to be a dragon? It's like such a fun creature to be in like a medieval setting. Like, and also like I want to fly around like a dragon. I feel like that would like be like a pretty powerful feeling. I say siren because I think even though sirens can sometimes be portrayed as this like creepy type of creature that kind of lures men, I kind of like lures men to their deaths, right? I kind of like the idea of that. That sounds very appealing to me sometimes. So I'm like, why not give that a shot? Like, why not? It would be very interesting to be in that kind of, like, be that kind of creature.
Mm-hmm. I think I would also want to be a dragon just because hoarding sounds really fun. Like book hoarding particularly sounds very fun. And if you can live forever and nobody can take your books away from you, then why not
Why
collect
not?
them?
Yes.
I would also want to be a knight. I think it's because the previously mentioned Alana, like Song of the Lioness series by Tamar Pierce. I read those at a very formative age, and I was obsessed. I also love accounts of Joan of Arc in real life. So part of me has always like really been interested in like knighthood, and I think I would really, really crush the role. No, I'm joking. I would probably like last 3 seconds before, I don't know, dying of some horrible disease logically if I were actually a knight. But yeah, in the meantime I will fantasize about it.
I mean, as long as you lived your life in adventure, you know?
Mm-hmm. I have like taken like sword fighting classes, and I do like kendo, which is like Japanese like sword fighting but with a bamboo stick. It's really fun, and I do think like that part of like knighthood training would be really enjoyable for me, but only that part.
We got some other questions and comments too. We got a question about how do you come up with boxes? Do you choose a theme, book, or items first? So we do this with every box where we choose the books first, and then we center them around the theme. We center the theme and ideas and items around the book. So the book always comes first when we make the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes to special editions or anything like that, it's always the books are the focal point.
We're currently we're workshopping 2 themes right now, and they're both so fun. And I think a lot of people will enjoy them.
Yes, definitely. It's really exciting to see people's reactions to the themes and like the items and fandoms that we come up with, and then also guess the book from there, because it's so funny because we start off with the book, but they are kind of ending with the book. Like they don't. That's like the last little bit of detail that they get because they're we tell them everything else except the book details. So it's fun to see.
We got another question that says, I'd love to see more usable items like chapstick, coffee, and hair accessories. Same. I think having items that are super useful and that you can kind of just throw into your bag or, you know, have around the house is just, it's great. For some of these things, we do have to keep in mind like accessibility and like other elements. Like, for example, like hair accessories, not everybody uses the same type of hair accessories for, you know, different hair.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that we do need to keep in mind. But all in all, I do think it's very, you know, it's definitely something that we try and do. So like bringing useful items, like tea, and the one that I actually have been using the most is the soap dish that we got.
Yeah, I use
Then
that a
last
lot
year's, I
too.
think I'll remember about. Yeah, it's. I'm actually considering getting another one because I love the structure of it. It's such a cute shape, and also because of the color scheme, it matches my apartment perfectly. So I've been using it in my bathroom, but I kind of want one for like my other like side bathroom. So yeah, stuff like that.
Kristen Pamela asks, "Ooh, any hints you can share on the 2 themes you are working on?" Not really.
They're kind of spoilery if we say anything right now.
Yeah, but these are more so towards like end of the year.
Mm-hmm. I can say that one of them I think fits like a lot of archetypes. Both of them fit archetypes that you find in YA series.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's also like a very broad statement, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Keep it as broad as possible.
Yeah.
Zoe says, my favorite OwlCrate item is the Astral tea bag set. Ooh.
Oh yeah, the one that was December last year. I think they came with a little so it was like a tea bag, reusable tea bag, and I think it was the dish for your tea bags.
It's like a crescent type of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cute.
Mm-hmm.
Zoe also says, I think of the Gargoyles cartoon show when I think of Knights and Creatures. I have no idea what that is.
Before your time, I think.
Maybe.
Before my time too, but I did watch bits of it. Yeah, Gargoyles super fun.
I think there is this one show that does, it's like a cartoon show, it's like a kids show that does pop up into my mind that's like medieval. I don't know if you'll know him, you might, because I think it was also like, it wasn't just aired in the States. I think like Canada might have aired it too. But it was called Jane and the Dragon.
Yeah.
That's like I was obsessed with that as a kid, and that was like my early like exposure to medieval that like I can think of in like cartoon show form. I really liked that show.
That just brought back so many memories because I have not thought of that show in years. Wait, let me search it up. It's you have to. It's also a book, if I remember correctly.
Really, I did not know
I
that.
think so. Is
No.
it? Because I definitely remember like a very Yeah, it is a book. I think I read the book first. That's why I remember the TV show because I think the faces were initially kind of creepy to me. I remember that for sure.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
The animation was a bit unique, I will say, but yeah, I really loved watching it.
but
I
you got
loved.
used to it.
Yeah, exactly. I loved Jane. I loved I was always like singing along to the theme song because it was such a catchy theme song and everything. I really liked that show when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for Jane and the Dragon, I remember they came up with like a set of those, you know, in elementary school, like in grades, maybe like 1 to 3, they had those very thin books that
Hmm.
were like chapter books ish, but they were like super, super thin. Jane the Dragon, there were like a couple of those books, and I definitely
Yeah,
remember reading them when I was like in grade 2. Yeah,
that's
good
interesting. I
times.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Um, Kristen Pamela says the priority of the orange tree body mist smelled amazing. That's awesome. I think you took one to like an author signing, right?
Yeah, I got to meet Samantha Shannon 2 months, 3 months, 2 months ago, I think. Yeah, time is again an illusion. I don't know my whatchamacallit months anymore. But
Yeah.
yeah, I brought her like a prior to the orange tree mist because I was getting my book signed and I was like, might as well just bring one. I also had like an extra one because I ordered it for myself, and then my sister stole mine and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get another one. And then I just as I got it, Samantha Shannon announced that she was doing a signing in my city, so I was like, never mind, I need to save that for her.
Hmm.
So I ended up giving that one to her, and then I got another one after that. So yeah, it's so nice though. That is probably one of my favorite items from last year, just because I find that the scent is very unique and that it's not overpowering, which is really really great.
Hmm.
So glad y'all are liking that one.
Christy says, I'm obsessed with glass straw and drinkable glass. Please make more. If you guys show enough enthusiasm about this item, we may bring it back. You never know. That's like the thing about our items is it's never just one and done, especially if
Mm-hmm.
we see that people are really enjoying that item. Like we will find ways to bring it back in a more unique way for you guys so that it doesn't feel repetitive.
For sure. Plus, we have a lot of unique drinkware items coming up, or that we have been looking at. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Christy also says, I love Riddle's tea shop. Teas are my favorite too.
Riddles is great. We love working with them. Julie, who runs the shop, is fantastic. She's always coming up with such fun flavors, and like the ways, there are so many different ways to drink her tea that you can always like kind of experiment with them.
Yes, definitely. It's always fun to have Riddle's tea shop in our shop as well
Yeah.
because there's so many cool flavors that I think we've had over the years with Riddle's tea shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
My sister's like,
I think we are going to wrap it up here. I hope we covered everything medieval adventure that uh you might have wanted us to cover, but Um, again, just reminding you, everyone, that you can sign up to the newsletter. And if you want to rewatch this live or any of the past lives, you can go on the past live stream tab on the Nest. I recommend subscribing and purchasing from our shop if you want. And remember to watch for our social media and our TikTok, Instagram for OwlCrate News. We have a lot of cool stuff coming out. We have like really, really cool stuff coming out, and like we're really excited to see what people think about it, and it's going to be really fun.
If you are keen for certain news about certain things, keeping track of our social media is definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And our giveaway winners will also be contacted by our awesome social media team. So keep an eye out on our Instagram stories for that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I hope everyone had fun today. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.